Hey, good morning, Deb.
Hello. We're not going to record anymore.
No? Okay.
No, we're just gonna go live because after what you were saying, we should be like stopping and engaging. It'll be more like hard to do that.
Have more control.
Yeah, it'll just be more
Control.
challenging. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're just, I was telling them and they were like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I know they'd love to not be out there, but
Yeah. But I think it'll be easier to do the engagement that you were talking about.
yeah,
So.
I don't trust people to stay there and be accountable on their own.
Yeah. No problem. So yeah. Well,
Okay.
we're gonna change that up.
But it looks good though. Really
Okay,
does.
good. All right.
I'll let you, but I'm not letting anybody else in right now. They can wait.
Oh, okay. I was like, everybody's waiting. I mean, late.
No, we haven't, it's not official yet. That's why I said no.
To go.
All right, sir. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We're now about close to 9:10, so we have about 15 minutes. I don't want to keep it at 10 o'clock today. I did want to go over some information visually. We have opportunities to go in depth next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Hopefully you received my letter from your principals yesterday or this morning saying here's what certificated staff doing, here's what classified staff will be doing. And if you have not received it, it'll be going out again to all classified members who might not have received it earlier this morning. So if you see that I'm slouching, it's for a reason. I was in Catalina this weekend with my family. They never see me again before the school starts. And I went snorkeling with my kids. I got in the boat and I slipped and did the splits. And as I was doing that, when you get to my age, you realize sometimes your body moves and doesn't stop even though you want it to. So I kind of did the splits, heard a pop in my knee. And I have a huge brace on it. I thought I could gut it out till Monday to go see the doctor when I made the appointment, but I'm looking to maybe put a half day in here. So on any of these schedules where it says for next week, Jonathan to talk to the staff, and if I'm not there, it's because I am following doctor's orders to get myself fixed up. Hopefully,
You're broken.
Well, I hope not. Hopefully, it's just elevate it, take lots of Advil, and there's no tears. But I got to go to get it looked at. So I'm not falling asleep. That's why I'm trying to be higher than the other. So let's talk about the agenda for this morning. So today's agenda in the next 50 minutes. Want to talk a little bit about how did we get to the process of what school is going to look like, what distance learning is all about. How do we come to make some of the decisions we did, at least initially, so we could start the school year? Okay, number one. Number two, the weeds really is, what is the scheduling look like for teachers? How is it that it's going to be, how is it going to be implemented? What is that look like? Secondly, to give some updates to special education staff, I anticipate having a meeting with you on Tuesday to go over specific legal compliance program, specific needs for the Montsevere people, and how the distance learning schedule that we're having general ed folks would be applicable to mild to moderates, Montsevere, RSP, and speech. Okay, that's at least an hour in itself. So I just want to give you, here's the next steps. In that part, we'll also discuss that classified instructional assistants should be getting their assignments by Monday for what they're going to be supporting. Okay, so those, you have questions, where am I going to go? Who's my teacher? Over at Rancho, we need to build in a lot of support time for you to get to know your new teacher, because again, we have 3 new Montsevere teachers plus 1 new speech therapist, so a whole new special education team outside Miss Spadoni over at Rancho. So all the assistants who've worked there a long time and know the kids need to know the teachers, need to know.
Good morning, may I help you?
How are we going to plan? And then lastly,
do me a favor and drive through the black gates over to your right and go around the building.
So again,
where the handicap's at, and somebody will be with you shortly, okay?
Fortunately, no one says, can I have a Coke and fries and a latte? But again, mute yourself. Mute yourself while we talk. And then I'll talk about next steps, okay? Next steps, what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, Aviven? Ya lo hice.
Thank you, Will. Okay, so that's kind of the agenda today. So let's start from number one. Since we got out of school on June 3rd, we've been in an overdrive trying to figure out, okay, are we doing a hybrid program? That's kind of where we went. COVID-19 has never had its foot off the gas here in LA County, here in California, here in the state, in the nation, okay? But during the month of June, guidelines came out that said, you know what? I get that every district in the state of California did their best that they can with regards to distance learning, because it was at the drop of the hat, we just had to immediately switch. But that's not good enough anymore. We need to put some guidelines in to make sure that we have, more meat and potatoes to the instruction, that teachers see kids every day, that kids don't get lost. If kids don't show up, there's a plan and a protocol to find students. And for those kids who don't have devices or connectivity, it's the district's responsibility really to reach out to them and help them get those things. So as you can see, through 9 hours of meeting, we had over 30 staff members from all 4 schools represented, as well as district office staff, as well as the principals. And as we got towards the end, we brought in some of our strong parent advocates at each one of the school sites to say, how do you feel this would affect, what are your needs as a parent having gone through the distance learning? All of the surveys that we gave to you towards the end of the year, we utilized to kind of use as a baseline to say, what are the things we need to hear? Parents are saying, okay, I guess my teachers were talking to my kids, but it wasn't really rigorous. I didn't really understand. I'd never had an opportunity to get information. It was hard to motivate my kids to come on. Teachers were feeling like, there was a lot of things going on with regards to social emotional things with kids that we didn't really address because we were just trying to hit the academics. But no, we didn't do anything with social emotional. We really want to be able to connect with our kids, but it's hard. So the more structure, the better. So as we were going over the new requirements with this 30+ district staff member task force, the intent was to say, listen, we have to put something together. It was radically different than the do the best that you can model, which we did, which we all exceeded, to what are the guidelines? How do we explain the guidelines to staff, students, and parents? And how do we ensure that our kids get quality distance learning instruction? So really the 3 focuses were aligning the vision and direction of what we're doing for this year, assessing student, staff, and organizational needs through the use of these meetings, as well as through the use of surveys, and then putting forth district planning. The next step out of those 9 hours, really to say, okay, we really need to get into the weeds of what are teachers going to be doing. So we created a subset. Next slide, Will. We created a subset of the task force and said we really need to figure out what is the schedule going to look like. How does instruction? What is direct instruction? How do we use the technology that we have? And more importantly, the biggest feedback that teachers gave us is, okay, if we're going to do distance learning 100%, then we really need to have planning time, because it really took a lot of time to put things together. So as every meeting that we had, we would say, here's what we're thinking. What do you think? Give us your feedback. So we had elementary teachers from each one of the elementary school represented giving us their feedback. So the primary piece that we utilized had input, and we took the suggestions that the teachers had about what they felt was practical, applicable to the needs of their students and their parents. And that's ultimately how we came up with the instructional plan. But that wasn't, the end of what I did with that. As you know, next slide. As you know, I had a district town hall meeting for parents on Tuesday. Principals did an excellent job of conveying what the things are that we are doing, what the program will look like. the information that was presented was very district centric. Okay. So even though I had a task force meeting over 30 employees, I had a subset meeting of representation from every of the elementary schools helping me with what is it specifically that we need to do. I knew that I wanted to go through the process of, I needed to go through LNTA, the bargaining unit. I specifically requested, I contacted through my attorney CTA rep who works and supports LNTA and said, I have a schedule. I want to ensure that what I'm going to present to the parents on Tuesday meets the needs of the bargaining unit who are representing all of the district. And if there's any questions, let me fix them now. Otherwise, I'm going to need to cancel my Tuesday's meeting because I don't want to prepare anything that hasn't gone through a level of vetting through the association prior to be given to the parents. So a 3-hour meeting back and forth, giving some information. I'd really like to thank the negotiators for working with me so collaboratively, because the intent was there are all these different requirements that we have that we didn't have before. Here's the process that I took to try and get input from as many people as I could. At the end of the day, school starts on the 13th. Parents want to know what the schedule is going to look like. The schedule that I am presenting to you meets or exceeds the minimum requirements the state of California is requiring all school districts to implement for distance learning. So I said, that being said, I get it. We're to the gun. I appreciate you looking at meeting with me. I'm perfectly fine. Let's get together in September, and when everyone is back, because even though I had 30 eyes on the plan and the task force, that's 70 eyes, and I had close to 10 eyes or 20 eyes, 10 people on the subset. When all the teachers are back and are looking at this, my number of eyes are going to double. Okay. And you will have suggestions and thoughts that I will consider and that I want to consider, because I want to deliver a good program to our kids, and I want it to be manageable for our teachers. And so we agreed that we'll come back on September 21st, and let's what you're presenting to the parents on Tuesday is fine. We don't need to do any other further talking. Let's just get it done. Talk to the parents, and then let's come back on the 21st. So again, concerns about, hey, there was no vetting. Who made up this plan? Did we do anything? I took great pains from June through last Wednesday or Thursday to make sure I specifically reached out, asked, what's your feedback prior to presenting anything to the parents, okay? So what you heard from Tuesday in the presentation was very student parent centric. So some of you may say, well, I don't see some of these things. It's not teacher centric. It's not supposed to be teacher centric. It was supposed to be parent centric, because that was the audience today. When Will does the presentation, he'll be talking about how is this related to the teachers. So again, what we present to you today is contractually sound based on a normal school day. So as we switch over in a minute into what does this year look like? Well, then this year looks like a normal school year. Teachers are required to be at work. School starts from 8 to 2:30, but they're required contractually to be here half an hour before. So again, that's what I presented, a 7:30 to 2:30 process. Number one, that was contractually sound, that was vetted through the negotiating team and the CTA rep that represents Los Nietos. And the caveat that I put in through all of this was, tell you what, let's come back on September 21st, because people are going to get anxious. And if we can build a better mousetrap, I want good ideas. Okay. That being said, again, I met yesterday with both LNTA presidents for an hour and a half, hearing some concerns that were expressed. I explained the process that I went through, and they appreciated the fact that, okay, yeah, I think let's move forward. School is going to start forward, and then we look forward to, how are we going to address any kind of concerns that might come up on the 21st, which is fine with me. That being said, we are not deviating from this plan. So I want to put that in bold italics, 2 underlines underneath it. The intent for right now is Here is the plan that we're going to try to implement. If you personally, or you as your school site feel that you can build a better mousetrap, save those suggestions, because I need to move the district to create a better plan holistically. I cannot support 4 different district learning plans. I cannot support a district learning plan that is good for one upper grade or lower grade at a school site, and then everyone else follows the plan. Okay, that's not tenable. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to allow it. So the intent is, with so much ambiguity and so much anxiety with parents, teachers, and staff, please just say, let me work through this plan. Let me see how we do. And then 100%, I want to take your suggestions. And then as a district, we will make corrections to the plan and say, based on the feedback, here are the new tweaks that is good for everyone in the district. Okay, that is the plan of the process. So do not ask teachers, or excuse me, do not ask your principals, hey, can I change this? Can I do this? They don't have the authority to do that. So again, I promised, and I met with a negotiating team and said, listen, one plan for all the schools as much as possible. We're going to follow it. I don't want to have to come back telling anyone that they deviated from that. So again, we do that just for consistency, clarity, and ensuring that the anxiety that everyone is feeling through the roof is down a little bit. Okay, so let's move on. So when I said the state of California now said, tell you what, Los Nietos and all 1,000 school districts in the state of California, do the best that you can model that we said is okay. Stay at home, work from home, deal with the kids when you can. If kids are not in attendance, that's okay. We'll try and catch them later. Do your best to can pushing out computers and devices. That's no longer available. It's no longer the plan. SB 98 was a legislation that was passed that specifically outlines what is distance learning. How do we have to do that? What are the compliance pieces? Because a lot of political active advocates were saying our kids are getting shortchanged. We get that there's a pandemic, but our kids aren't getting the quality service that they need. They aren't getting the devices they need. We're not differentiated enough, and no one is tracking the attendance. And we need to make everything just like it was in school. So as you read this, here are the most significant changes. Your school day has to mirror what a normal school day would be if you were in school. I'm speaking as if you all know that we're going through 100% distance learning through at least December. The board was going to, and I were making that recommendation anyway, but the governor of California has said, okay, we need metrics to determine how schools are going to open up. Currently, there are metrics with regards to if you are on a county on a watch list that has a higher percentage of kids or a higher percentage of people that test positive per 100,000 population. It can't be higher than 300. You're on the watch list. And there's another one as well. So we're like a 365, and we're always going to be high because LA County has a huge population and we're doing a lot of testing. So just based on those metrics, it's going to be difficult to get off. Some people said, well, there's a waiver process for if you want to open up your elementary school. You can say, we got all the safety protocols in place, we can do this. You have to apply to the Department of Public Health to sign off on the waiver. Barbara Frere came out this week, said, nope, I'm not signing off anything. LA County is too much of a hotbed. So we have made the recommendation, follow the governor's recommendation, that all of our learning is going to be 100% distance. So when we met with the task force, we were talking about a hybrid model. Now it's 100% distance because COVID-19 continues to click up. So we are responsible for ensuring all students have connectivity and devices, and not just passing out the Chromebooks, but if they don't have hotspots, we're responsible for that. We're responsible that our instruction is closely aligned to in-person instruction. So again, not do the best you can do. If you're going to give new work to kids, are you going to grade it? Are you going to follow up to see if there's understanding? All those components have to be in there, which were not the requirements from March through June 3rd. Daily life interaction with teachers and their peers. So it is a requirement that you have to log on and have contact with the kids on a daily basis. Okay, that's not you know, it's a good idea, but it's also a requirement now. Provide any academic and other supports or services that may be available to kids who are not on grade level. And the majority of our students, we could say, being out for March through June. We have kids who are not on grade level anyway. So a lot of the support that we need to provide are for all of our students. As well as, hey, don't forget you have English learners in there. How are you going to work with differentiated instruction for your EL kids over a Zoom if you're not if you're a monolingual teacher? How are you going to still provide ELD and academic language building? Okay. Also a requirement, regular communication with parents and guardians. Parents' feedback was, gosh, we're getting lost in the weeds on a lot of stuff. We're really having difficulty understanding this. I can't get a hold of my teacher. So we have built-in opportunities for parents to contact teachers and get help throughout the week on a daily basis. And lastly, we have to document that kids are in class. We have to take attendance, and we have to document that we are doing, the kids are doing their work and we are grading it. Last year, we said, basically, if it's in March, we're just trying to solidify a lot of the grade level standards that the kids have already learned. Now kids are rolled over to the next grade level. This is all new content. You're going to need to assess to determine how well are the kids learning the new content, and how well are we documenting that. Those are all parts of big pieces of legislations or bills that need plans that need to be approved by September 30th by all school districts in California. How are you going to track the kids who aren't in class, and how are you going to ensure that the instruction that you're providing is strong for your kids? Next slide.
One second, sir.
So again, the juxtaposition of, you know, it's since June, what do we have to do? Balance Department of Education guidelines with the Department of Public Health guidelines, balanced with County Office of Education guidelines, and our fiscal constraints that we are still in. So even though COVID-19 is rampant, it's ever present, and the state has said, tell you what, we're still going to give you money to run your programs, it does not mean the Los Angeles School District specifically. People will say, well, this particular district, unified district, has this money. What about this money? It is not Los Angeles School District, who's under 1,500 kids on a good day. And how are we meeting our fiscal responsibilities? So those are a lot of the huge pieces, in addition to parent, staff, student input, and ensuring that our kids get the devices that they need. All that put in a blender, make a equitable, rigorous online educational program milkshake for our students and for our staff. It's been a very difficult task. So those staff members who were participating in any step along the way, I truly appreciate your help and your time that you put in, giving us feedback, because that was the whole intent, to have representative information as we build this new program. So what we've shared with the staff, with the parents and with the board, there's kind of 4 stages of reopening our school district. Currently, we're in phase 1, 100% of our kids distance learning. That starts August 13th. That's based on local and state guidelines. And the governor saying any county is on the watch list, which we are, and we have not gotten off since he created that last month. Those guidelines, we stay on that. We had thought about maybe we can start bringing kids back for 2 days a week. And LA County Department of Public Health says you can do that, but everyone's got to mask up. Everyone has to be 6 feet apart. So a normal classroom would have 16, no more than 16 desks straight across with kids on there, because they would be 6 feet apart. We could do that. That's what we thought we were going until we went into this kind of stay-at-home distance learning model. Then from that phase 2, we were thinking maybe we could move to a full day hybrid model where kids would come 2 days full day per week. And as we're building in the endurance, but back to full on-campus learning. So even though other counties are saying, well, let's just bring kids back. We don't need to wear masks. That is not the mandates from the Department of Public Health. It's not the mandates from LA County Department of Health or LACO. We are in Los Angeles County, so our guidelines are different, and they can be stronger than what the governor's guidelines are. But other counties, such as Orange County, are saying, no, we're bringing everyone back. You'd have to wear masks. You'd have to socially distance. That's the Orange County Superintendent district's headache, not mine. So I'm thankful that we're in LA County where it's a little bit more clear. Okay, so those are the 4 kind of models that we are in. We are currently in 100% distance learning model, where we're having people come to the classroom, not come to the classroom, but go to teach from home, and teachers are teaching from home as well. So all of this is predicated on the fact that everyone is at home setting up their classroom. Does not mean, because there have been people saying, well, I don't want, my room is not set up to be a classroom. Can I come onto campus? Not at least through the month of August, okay? There's some protocols and things we need to put in place. There may be an opportunity, we can say those people want to come and do their work day because everything is there. We may be able to do that, but I'm not, like I said, I can't do things piecemeal. I can't say, well, this is a Nelson model. I can do it for this teacher, but I can't do it for this particular person. I need to put everything out holistically. So as much as everyone says, well, hey, we're 4 individual schools in this district, don't we have a little bit of latitude? You don't, okay? I have to do my very best to put in protocols in place to give to the principals to keep all of you safe, to keep the parents and the students safe, as well as delivering an instructional plan that is equivalent to them being in campus, which is a tall order, okay? So I don't want to do anything for one individual or school that I can't say we can do this, and here's the protocols for all schools, okay? So again, here is really just a visual of what are all the things since June that we've been trying to do. People hear distance learning and say, okay, that's just, we're teaching kids from home on the computer. No, what we're presenting to you this morning really has to do with, here are all of the different types of things that we had to consider, and how do we do that, and how do we provide training and access, how do we get the hotspots, how do we disseminate all of these Chromebooks, how do we make sure we keep people safe. So we feel we've done a strong and positive job to follow the guidelines, the requirements that we have to, and to provide the input or to get the input from a lot of stakeholders to say, all right, to start at the start of the school year, we understand the guidelines, we understand here are the things you have to do, that we as the district have to do, as a teacher have to do, here are the mandates. And from a union association perspective, if I'm a teacher, I also get, yeah, but this is brand new. Can we, let's try it out, let's work on it. And then if we can make changes that would better suit all of us. And again, that's the key. Please do not think, well, over at Nelson, Aioli, and Rancho, or the middle school, this would work better for us. It has to be, how would this work better for the district? Is this something that is easily applicable to all teachers in their level of development? Because those are the factors I have to do. I can't have one principal asking teachers to do something who may be training them to do something, and then another teacher say, hey, I want to do that, but the principal doesn't have any ability to train their staff. And because the district doesn't know what that is, we can't support it. So again, I had a first superintendent who hired me was Chuck Menzies. Some of you may know him. And when I was hired, he would say, Jonathan, you're too nice. You just need to say no. So I'm going to take Chuck Menzies and channel him a little bit in terms of, for the interest of trying to keep us consistent, and for the interest of trying to keep us safe and healthy, and for not overwhelming people. I'm going to have the principals say no, because I want things to be equitable, and I want it to be thought out and planned. And if it's good for one school, it should be good for all of us, and I should be able to hold all of you accountable for the same thing. And then when it gets to people doing different things, it's too hard. So it's just not going to happen. Okay. So please just know that is from where I'm coming from. It's not just doing it, it's monitoring it, ensuring that our kids show growth, and selling it, because I think we do have a lot of really positive things going on with our district that differentiate us from other districts. I think we have a good thought out plan. So again, that's my my thought process as we move more into instructional. Let's get into the weeds a little bit. What might things look like? So, you know, a day for a teacher, and what's different from last year, like I said before, we have to assess kids because it's new content. We have to determine, are they learning or not? We have to have daily Zoom lessons for kids, and parents at the town hall says, are you going to be Zooming? So if they're supposed to come from 8 to 2:30, does that mean they're going to be on Zoom all day? No, they're not. So we'll dispel some of those notions in a minute of what the requirements are for kids and teachers. We have put in within the course of your workday time for parents who can sign up to get help or ask a question. So people feel like they have a lifeline, and you have real-time information on how people are doing. We know that based on your feedback, you can't do a Zoom lesson of 20 kids and have kids come in and off and try and keep everyone focused. It just didn't work. So as we split up the classes a little bit and we try and say, here is what we just did our Zoom lessons. Now I need for you to do your independent practice work, you know, work on this while I work with this other group. We have built that in, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. Part of the instructional day, because the instructional day can be comprised of Zoom lessons, can be, or synchronous learning, can be comprised of evaluated assignments that teachers say, I'm giving you this independent practice work, which has a equivalency of 60 minutes or an hour and a half, 90 minutes, which goes into the amount of minutes for the school day. There is an opportunity for either pre-recording direct instruction lessons or utilizing Khan Academy. Some of the things that are already out there. It doesn't have to be that you create it, but it has to be, here are some things, maybe some review prior to going into a lesson that kids can look at from 8 to 8:30 to get their cognitive juices flowing, and then we will get into the Zoom direct instruction. So there are different kinds of components that we have put in that will give a more well-rounded program for our kids. Okay, so again, before we click over to the weeds, instructional weeds, again, I just want everyone to know we work very hard to try and get as much input as possible. And it started with the surveys. You know, if you completed the surveys, we took that information and shared it with the task force. Then we went over with, let's have a subgroup of instructional leaders from the school site. What do you think, your practitioners? This is going to work. What do you need? You know, more planning time. So we built that in. And then lastly, just trying to ensure, you know, do we communicate it in a way that people understood it, and that was there any contractual issues? And if people feel as if, hey, I have concerns, it's okay to have concerns. We'll address them on September 21st. Please be keeping track of your concerns to give to your rep as we meet again. And my hope is that prior to the 21st, you'll be talking to your principal and saying, here's some things that we could improve, or I need more instructional time, because our plan can be fluid. But starting next week with no plan in place, with all these mandates that are done, is just not realistic. So that was the spirit in which we created these instructional guidelines and systems. So again, thank you for those people who put in a huge amount of work. I want to thank Will and the TOSAs for all of their outstanding work, in addition to all of the committee members who not only were at the meetings, but also put in time and energy, you know, reading additional materials. And then again, to our LNT negotiating team, who specifically said, all right, I understand what you want to do. And yeah, we have some concerns, but we know school starts and we'll work with you. And we've always worked with us in the past. And so we're okay. So I appreciate them for at least working with me, expressing concerns, representing the association, you know, well. And again, your union presidents who met with me yesterday for almost an hour and a half expressing concerns. But again, saying, here's what I'm going to present. Here's how I got to this point. It wasn't made in a vacuum. And here's the level I took to talk with the association members. That helped dispel a lot of confusion about how the plan was not created in a vacuum, but we tried to share it with people, okay? So, you know, that is the Reader's Digest version of the last almost 3 months that we've been working on. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Will to talk a little bit about what specifically might the day look like and how the instructional minutes that we're required to do will become, into compliance.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Good morning once again, everyone. Just one thing I wanted to add real quickly for everyone of note here is only two things are new from last year in terms of teachers, which is one, there's more planning time, and number two, having parent/student office hours during the day. So those are the two new things, and we'll show you how that's going to be woven in throughout the schedule of the day. And as Mr. Vasquez liked to say, if everyone could kind of rinse their instructional palette or scheduling palette of Tuesday night. Tuesday was really designed for parents to give a big overview. Staff, that was not really for us. So I've heard a lot of questions, concerns, and you'll see as I go through that we've built in a lot of those concerns were already built in, but they weren't conveyed to parents because it's not relevant to them. So the question is, how do we close the achievement gap during distance learning? We're not going to talk about hybrid. Hybrid is something that's probably a month or two away at the earliest. And we'll revise that schedule, look at those SB 98 requirements again, et cetera, as we get closer to that time. So if everyone could just focus on distance learning right now. Only thing we're talking about is how do you learn online from home? And so for teachers and for school sites, our distance learning is built on 4 foundations: daily live and Zoom instruction, standard-based instruction, teacher support, and individualized student and family support. And of those 4, there are sub-bullets. So when we talk about daily live Zoom instruction, it doesn't mean just whole group instruction. It could be small group instruction. It's also including your social emotional learning. When we go to standard-based instruction, that could be a pre-recorded science, social studies, video that goes with that lesson, or something from our publishers where students can go back and look at those recordings. Google Classroom, online collaboration, structured independent practice also counts towards the total student minutes a day that we must achieve. And then regular assessments. Teacher support, daily planning. So daily planning time built into the workday for teachers, grade level, teacher and grade level collaboration, and professional learning opportunities. We appreciate the feedback we received from folks that last spring's professional learning was very helpful. We realized we had to move at a drop of a dime from physical to distance learning, and we're going to continue providing some more opportunities for staff members, just not teachers, but instructional assistants and other folks. How do we work in this new paradigm? What skills do we need? How do we get that training so we can be successful reaching out to our students? And last but not least is individualized student and family support. We heard from folks on the task force that, hey, teachers, it took too much of your time at back to school night and other stuff. You would lose time training parents how to fill out a survey on a device or getting them into Google Classroom. And so we will be helping out with that from a district standpoint. Won't go into the details today, but we've already been talking with Boys and Girls Club and have some tentative plans for that. So we're going to alleviate some of that pressure on your critical time of working with students and parents regarding student instruction and deal with the technical outside, family introductions and office hours. As mentioned earlier, the rigor, Jonathan spoke to this one earlier, so I will keep moving on this. So let me help clarify for everyone. Part of SB 98 said that there's a minimum number of minutes that students must receive instruction every day. And that number moves based on the grade span. We have built a schedule that meets and exceeds that. So if you take a look at kinder, when you combine synchronous, asynchronous, Zoom instruction, and student independent work, We're saying we need to plan for 200 minutes a day for TK and K students. That includes 20 minutes a day of physical activity, which doesn't mean you, the teacher or instructional assistant, need to be there, but we're giving them some activity that they're doing during each day. You take a look at third grade, first through third, the span is 260, fourth through sixth, 290, and as you see for seventh and eighth, 345 minutes is the span there. This ensures on a daily basis, we meet the state minimum of what we need to do for instructional minutes per students. So let's first talk about Monday, because Monday's universal. So if you allow me to walk through this, it will help, I think, give people perspective. The task force originally, we were working on a hybrid model prior to July, whatever, 6th, 13th, or whatever, the governor came out and said everybody has to go distance learning. And so we had in there a different amount of time for teacher collaboration and teacher planning. When we moved the model to full distance learning, we made some shifts. So if you take a look here on the left-hand side, our teaching staff, let me mute that in person. Our teaching staff starts at 7:30. So we're saying 7:30 to 8:30 is planning time. We're telling our parents on the right that the school day starts at 8 o'clock. So what does that mean for them? It doesn't mean that staff has to be with them. This is when they're logging in to Google Classroom or Dojo and they're getting their lesson for the next 30 minutes. Pre-recorded video. This is where Superintendent was talking about Khan Academy or something from the publisher that tees up the day about the instruction that you will be delivering. It could be part of their independent work, 55 minutes of ELA or social studies. So that assignments will count towards the instructional day. Zoom classes are not to start before 8:30 across the district. So 8:30 will start the first one. This, please don't look at the cohort A, B, and C. This was built on the TKK model, and I'll explain that in a little bit here. So basically, Zoom instruction would go from 10:30 to 8:30 to 10:05. This means that teachers will be meeting in different cohorts. So you're not meeting with the same group of kids for an hour and a half. You're meeting with different groups for that time. This will allow us to make sure we do the check-in and we do the daily attendance on Monday. You repeat that for ELA math, or maybe you're doing social emotional lessons or whole group instruction on Monday. But the instructional day for teachers will be done at roughly 12 o'clock. From 12:30 to 2:30, that is planning time. On a given Monday, as you see below here, staff meetings, professional learning, grade level planning, and support. 1 week may have a staff meeting. That staff meeting will only be an hour long. So teachers will still have 1 hour worth of time for planning. Grade level, that's a full 2-hour day for teachers of planning. Professional learning, when we have those professional learnings, it depends on what it is. So that fluctuates. It could be, a 2-hour training, say with the new science adoption, with Amplify, that would be a 2-hour. If it's a Google Suite, maybe it's only an hour or 30 minutes. So the rest of that time teachers have for planning. And then one thing we got feedback from you, the staff, is that the state of the district meetings have been very informative and we should continue with that. So you hear from the superintendent himself, what's the direction, what's the plan, what we're doing as a district. That only happen 1 time a month and it'll only be up to an hour, max length. So that's how that works. And so on the right-hand side, while teachers are doing this and staff is working on their planning, students are completing independent work, okay? So that's how the schedule is broken up. And you see at the bottom, planning minutes, teachers still get a minimum 60 on a given week. It could be 120. Zoom minutes, 200, but that is with various groups of students, not one group for 200 minutes. And then professional support, you see there, up to 2 hours. So real quickly here, I'm gonna kind of breeze through this kind of quickly. We will be emailing these out to everybody, so you can kind of digest and take a look at this as we come back together on Monday. But if we take a look at a TK Kinder teacher instructional minutes, the bulk of the work is in live Zoom sessions, 250 minutes. But that's not 250 consecutive minutes. Please note the parentheses. We've accounted for 50 minutes of transitional time. Your in between sessions, your breakdown, your setup, give teachers a realistic time to move between their groups of students. So for TKK is really 200 minutes, a little more than 3 hours of meeting with their students a day. 60 minutes of planning time and 70 minutes of office hours. What does that look like real time from a schedule standpoint? You still have your 1 hour planning. Classes won't start till 8:30. TKK, we're saying what we did, we flushed out the worst case scenario. 24 students is the highest number that can be there. So that would basically say you have roughly 6 kids per group. So in cohort A, you meet with 6 kids for 20 minutes, cohort B, another 6, so forth and so on. And then students who are not meeting with the teacher are doing independent work or finishing up on work based on that. This is not rigid from the standpoint of you have to do ELA first and then do math. That can flip. The only thing we're saying from the schedule doesn't change is that the blocks of time from 8:30 to 10:05 need to remain consistent as we market that to parents so that they know when to get their students online. We know this is going to be new for everyone, having people log in multiple times a day. But the feedback we receive from you all as well as research, our kids at this age span really don't learn as well trying to do a whole hour at one shot. So we said, we'll chunk it, allow for small group instruction so we can be more successful in getting that content into our students. The afternoon, 12:30 to 1:15 is the extended instruction session. Here, once again, it is about an hour and a half of instruction time there, but you're meeting with different groups of students. And this group, they are homogeneously grouped. So if a teacher is doing small group, small guided reading groups, those kids who are like a grade level, 2 grade levels behind, maybe that's block A. Half a grade level is your cohort B, et cetera, et cetera. So they're getting more individualized instruction based on their skill set. And then teachers' office hours start at 1:20. So we're telling parents and telling students they need to sign up with you, and we'll talk about that vehicle next week, for office hours. If parents and students aren't signing up, that's additional planning time for you, the teacher, okay? So that is the model there. The rest of the grade spans are built very similar to that. So we have consistency and equitability across the district when it comes to teachers, staff, and students. The difference for first through third, we have more Zoom time. They can be a little bit more focused, a little bit longer. So there's more instructional minutes there for live Zoom sessions. The schedule you'll see looks very similar. The difference here is that there are 3 cohorts, not 4. So you have a few more kids meeting together for a 30-minute time period as teachers switch in between, okay? And you see there's a 10-minute break built in as well from 10:10 to 10:25, plus an additional 5 minutes for transition and getting prep for the next group. ELA and math, once again, they can flip between the two at the teacher's discretion. And same thing, small group, reteaching, intervention in the afternoon. 4th through 6th grade, you see that there's more time built in, the biggest difference. 75 minutes in office hours, or 45 minutes, excuse me, office hours. The schedule for 4th through 6th, we're saying you only have 2, okay? This is where we have a lot of our combo classes. And this is something we'd like to say a blanket statement, but you'll need to work with your principal based on the size of your combo in terms of maybe if I'm a 5-6 combo, if I have enough 5th graders for combo A and enough to split for combo B. So if I have 15 or 12 kids of 5th grade and 13 who are 6th grade, that's a great split. So you would meet with them separately in combos, in the cohorts, to support your students. But you'll get more information on that later today and next week. Middle school, 245 minutes and 90 minutes of planning. So it's a little more playing time, and then 45 minutes in office hours. So in working with Shannon, who's been talking with folks there, so how do we do this? Because middle school is definitely a different model. We recognize that teachers don't just see one group of kids, they see multiple groups of students. And so to support that, you know, we're keeping the same thing, 8:30 is the start time. We wanna make sure that the workday is 7:30 to 2:30. So unlike last spring, we're not asking for any teachers to meet with kids and do lessons at 5:30 at night or 3:30 like was last spring. Instruction parents, we're telling them, needs to happen between 7:30 and 2:30. So as you take a look there, your ELA math block, now these are 2 different groups of teachers, but if you're just an ELA teacher, you would meet with one group of students for 45 minutes, and then you meet with your second group of students in the next block, okay? Like I said, we will email these out, and your principals will be going even more in detail on Monday. Now, let me do this to you as I've gone through schedule. Let me deconstruct this because we got a lot of feedback from folks. This is a very generic schedule for parents. This has not, as you see, it doesn't match the staff from the standpoint of what you're doing daily, but it just marries from the standpoint of, here's an overview. And there's always a devil in the details when you look at the fine print. Blocks 1 through 3, students will be engaged in work that includes English, math, social studies, and science. So this wasn't necessarily highlighted Tuesday night. That was an honest omission. In elementary, we know that the English and English publisher, every other unit is a science or a social studies story. So that's how we're going to continue with the social studies and science being woven in to the literature with the publisher. Blocks 3, after lunch, just in general, is to engage in small group instruction for about 20 to 30 minutes, a couple of times a week, to ensure we're helping those students who need that additional support based on their skill set. Your TK through K blocks 1 and 2, you see 20 minutes of Zoom session, as well as 70 minutes of additional work. Grades 1 through 3 will include 30 minutes of Zoom session and 90 minutes of additional work. And grades 4 through 6, 45 minutes of live Zoom, as well as 90 minutes of additional work. And the additional work, which we need to report back to the state based on SB 98, can include pre-recorded lessons, independent work, and assessments. All those components factor into the student's instructional day. The middle school, you can see at the bottom, once again, blocks 1 through 3, the students are engaged in the core, but block 4 is where we're looking to incorporate the elective and interventions, okay? Pre-recorded lessons and independent work. So that's how that works. And you see on Monday here, staff meetings, that chunk of time is designed for professional learning, for teachers to collaborate and to do planning. And to try and break this down in its most simplest form, when we're saying teachers, what are you planning for? Because all those schedules can be confusing. So at the end of the day, here's what we're saying. For TKK, for synchronous instruction, you're planning a 20-minute lesson and you're planning a 20-minute math lesson. You just may be repeating that lesson 2 or 3 times a day, depending on the number of students that you have in your class. And then you're planning a 20-minute extended instruction. We're asking that teachers plan for 70 minutes of asynchronous, be it videos, independent work, assessments, be it in your core classes as well as your PE. So that makes up your 200 minutes. And so you can see across the grade spans, that is the most simplest way of explaining the work expectations for teachers to kind of simplify it. We're not asking you to plan 12 different Zoom lessons. We're asking for elementary that you do 2 plans for ELA and math. Your social studies and science will be woven in. We're saying then plan for extended instruction, but you will be online with your students multiple times a day so that you get a break, they get a break, and we can keep that cognitive level high. And you see at the bottom how we work up to our instructional minutes for students. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tan to speak about special ed.
All right, so real quickly, I think Mr. Vasquez has mentioned a couple of things that were on the slide. So just to reiterate, the instructional assistants will continue to support the students via distance learning format. So they will be notified of their assignments by next Monday. So we are looking to schedule the special education department meeting next Tuesday afternoon. And I will send out the invitations to all the special education staff by the end of the week. That includes all the teachers and speech and school psychologists. So what we're gonna talk about is basically the legal guidelines that we just received on how we're gonna provide the services, the service delivery models, and how are we gonna do the IEPs, when can we do the IEPs. And then we're gonna be talking about the structure of the RSP classes, the SAC mild, moderate, and SAC mild severe programs. So those are basically the highlights of the discussion that we'll be going over, because that in itself will take about an hour, and we don't want to spend an hour sharing the information with the whole group. And lastly, we will also be consulting with the WhatsApp director and the program specialist to discuss how to better support our mild severe students. And we know that the structure, the format may not work for them because of the severity of the disability. So we're looking at how we can provide the support and how teachers can provide the support during distance learning. So once we have the meeting this afternoon, Mr. Vasquez and I will also be sharing that information with all of you next Tuesday. So just be on the lookout for an invitation for the Zoom link.
Thank you, Mr. Tan. Mr. Vasquez, are you back? All right, so next steps as he's jumping on.
I was enjoying my coffee, sorry.
So this
Trying to elevate my knee above my heart, which is no easy task in my office. That being said, you know, next steps. What day is it now? Let me check my watch. We're in the 6th. So on Monday, again, we've really been doubling down on trying to get devices and hotspots out to our families. Again, as a reminder, those kids, those K through 6th grade, or excuse me, K through 7th grade kids we gave Chromebooks to last year from March and through June, we allow them to keep it, okay? So those kids still have it. We've been busy making sure that the kids who didn't have a device received one. We also have hotspots for the kids who don't have one. We have a grant that allows us to have 3 months of free hotspot. I think it's from T-Mobile, you know, but after the first 3 months, then the district has to pay for the remainder. So we wanted to wait to purchase them till the month of August when kids are in, because that starts at 3 months or are free 3 months. So we have hotspots and we have Chromebooks. In addition, we purchased enough iPads for all of our TK and K kids to have their own device as well. So that is something we were doing over the summer. So really, not only one of the compliant pieces that we had to do with our program this year was ensuring kids had devices and they had connectivity. That's check. We've been doing that. On Monday, we'll have a meeting, whole group, to kind of talk about what the week is going to look like. So basically, Monday, by today, hopefully, all of your kids will be inputted into the computer, so that on Monday you can make your Google Classroom, because the only way that your parents are going to know what their schedule is and how you're going to meet with them is if you generate the Google Classroom and then push out through an email, "Hi, welcome, I'm Mrs. Banks. Hi, welcome, I'm Mrs. Villasenor. Here's the schedule. Here's the Zoom link." So you have all day Monday after we meet whole group to do that. So you'll have plenty of time to get that done and communicate with your parents. On Tuesday, half of the day is going to be for really taking a deep breath, because right now when we're in the middle of academics and starting the school year, a huge piece of the new requirements is social emotional learning. How are we keeping track of our kids? How are we trying to ensure that when kids come on, that we are aware of their emotionality, aware of any changes, and that's not an easy task. So we want to spend a good half a day talking about some resources that we have for you, how we can build that in on Mondays, at the very least, at a minimum, to check in with your students. And we've been having our school psychs work during the summer to curate and put together some lessons, and they'll be sharing that with you in breakout rooms so you can get a chance to walk through it and really kind of figure out what specifically we're asking you to do. But it should help you. And I also think it'll give you an opportunity just kind of to get your emotional feet wet as you're coming back to school. A lot of you have been working or been living in a vacuum, not going out anywhere, haven't seen anybody. So it'll give you an opportunity to start kind of small group, learning about some things, talking with your people. In the afternoon, we'll have more opportunities for planning time for those who still need to contact or send things out to parents. And I'll be meeting with special education staff Tuesday as well. Like Raymond said, I'm meeting with the SELPA director along with Raymond to specifically talk about program requirements for severe students and how things need to differ and what are best practices and what are the other districts in the SELPA doing. I know everyone is doing something different, but I want to at least share with them what the concerns are from our own teachers, as information has been coming in to me through Kelly about some of the concerns. As parents are reaching out, we'll need to kind of plan for that severe piece. On August 12th, in addition to being my 31st wedding anniversary, that'll be the day before school. So we will be having, again, an opportunity to go into really deep into the weeds of the instructional day. And that's really for all of the teachers to discuss what specifically does it look like? What is our website that was created before? What are these lessons you're talking about and these pre-recorded stuff? How do I do that? And so we're going to put all of that information that we think that you might have questions about into a cohesive kind of walk you through. Here's where all the resources are, so that you at least feel as if, all right, I've already emailed my parents. They know who I am and they know I'm the teacher. They know that this is when start time is, but I still got questions. So that's what the intent of all day Wednesday is as well. Part of Wednesday in the afternoon for our special ed and for our instructional assistants. You guys have not had a time to meet and to talk. Some of you are going to be working with new people for the first time, definitely at Rancho. The instructional assistants have been there for many years and have a great deal of experience, but now you have brand new teachers. And so we have to create time for you to work and to plan and to talk about how, tell me about the kids. How do we do things? Do you know the parents? Here's how I do things. So hopefully we can create that opportunity for you on Wednesday, and we'll talk about that on Tuesday, the 11th. Okay, so all through the week, we're still pushing out devices. We're still pushing out any parents who don't have their hotspots. Please let us know. I think I saw one in the chat bar. Was there going to be still the packets? And the answer is no. Really, here's the learning that we are providing for parents and students that will be online that they can utilize through different levels of medians. But having the days of here is a 2-week packet of stuff, we're definitely moving away from that, with the exception of conceivably our mod severe folks who may need us to put things together for kits for each individual student. And as we plan to do that, we'll be talking with the parents about what, here's what the IEP states, here's what their needs are. And that's another reason why we need to go a little more in depth about the legalities of the IEPs, not only for what they're required to have, but what additional support might they need during this COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Okay, so we'll get into that with special ed guys on Tuesday and maybe holding it over on the 11th. Yeah, and so when we met with the parents on Tuesday, we said, the days of having stuff on the door or on the fence, at 5 o'clock, and I was principal with Virginia, she and I would always cut and paste and put things up on the fence. As she's laughing, she remembers those days. Those are over. It's going to be online. That's why you're putting the class dojo. You're emailing the parents. Of course, secretaries will still need to have access to all that information. So if people call and say, "Oh my gosh, when does school start?" Those are, even after an hour presentation with the principals on Tuesday, parents will still say, "So when does school start? What am I supposed to do?" So mass communication and over communication of the same information is what we're going to be doing. But 13th Thursday is showtime, and the 14th, and really to give permission for people to take a deep breath. You don't know your kids. They haven't seen you. They have been in isolation. You don't know whether or not they have been under stress. You don't know if their parents have lost their jobs, if there's food insecurity. You don't know any of that, let alone the instructional deficits they have been receiving and achieving. So the week of the 13th through the following week is really intended to spend some time. How can we help support our kids and talk to them and talk to the parents? So if I'm in someone's classroom and I don't know what's going on and I don't know how to Zoom, can I meet with you and talk with you just one-on-one? That's perfectly acceptable. So we're creating those opportunities for teachers to have moments with the students and moments with the parents prior to those 45 minutes of individual office hours per week, okay? But I think it's necessary and it's important. You just can't pretend that, hey, welcome back to the school year and everything's cool. It's not. You don't know if people are sick. You don't know if people have family members have gotten sick. So for us just to go in there thinking as if we're just going to dive in is unrealistic for you to have. And so we're going to be really doing a lot of heavy lifting with the parents and explaining, here is the real rigorous program we have for a distance learning model, but it's imperative that our teachers get to know you and get to know the kids, because there's no way you can build any sense of community or sense of belonging. And part of the problem last year was kids were getting disinterested. They didn't show up. So, and because there was the requirements for attendance, when they didn't show up, it said, oh, well, I'll just teach the kids who are here. So we need to create that sense of belonging, that I want to come to school, that I like my teacher, I want to work for him or her, and that they know who I am. That will get kids coming to school so you can deliver the high quality instruction that we put together, okay? So those are the things that we're going to be talking about on Tuesday with regards to some of the cell types of requirements that we're asking teachers to do, but really just to help you be more responsive to the needs of your kids, because if we don't build it and plan it, it's too easy not to make accommodations for it, and you have to, okay? So I just want to give everyone, the permission to breathe a little bit, that it's okay that I get to know my kids, and that if I talk to my parents and I talk to the kids and I get a sense of what their needs are, that's the most important thing for the first 2 weeks of school. In addition to delivering instruction and building up the structure, that's the one of the most important things. That's what I want. That's what the board wants, because we can't operate in a vacuum, okay? So the multitude of people who've helped out just to get us to this point, so people can say, yeah, it's kind of scary. And this is not even taken into account to how are you guys doing? How are you feeling? Has anyone been sick in your life? Do you know people on every day? On every day, you see something. You saw a big blast in Palestine the other day. So one thing after another, you get immune to the sadness, and you just get, and you can't do that because you're working with kids, and you are the lifeline to those kids. So next week, I will try very hard to think, how can I reconnect with you as a district? And again, being able to connect with you on a monthly basis in this kind of fashion. Here are the things that are coming up. Here are the changes. So you hear from me directly, and then your principals can follow up with you. A lot of feedback I got. I really like that. It helped me understand in a virtual world what's going on. If you just tell us what's going on, that's helpful. So I want to continue that. But again, I'm really going to be working with the principals to, as they start meeting with you, they have, just like we're asking you to reconnect with your students and staff, excuse me, your students and your parents, they have to reconnect with you. You have to reconnect with the principal at your school site. If you guys come in and not work together, it's too easy to hide virtually and just communicate through email. And that's not going to help you at all, because if you get sick, if you get stressed, if something happens to you, you're going to need to know that you have the support, not only of the site, but of the district behind you to help you get through this. Okay. So I will try and work with the principals. I'm meeting with them tomorrow, and we'll specifically say, what are some of the things we can do to help your staff members at your particular school sites know that this is stressful. We're here to support you. We appreciate what you're doing for our kids. And we know that with input, when we get to the 21st, we can definitely build a better mousetrap, because all of you are capable of giving strong input. And as a district, we can make the changes necessary to move forward, and we can all benefit from that. Okay. So again, school starts in a week. We're all aware of that, some more than others. Virginia's losing her brain over there. But again, thank you for being here this morning. We went a little bit longer, but we did want to give you a lot of information. We will follow up again with what we're going to be talking about in depth next week as well. But we wanted to give you a Reader's Digest version of what we've been working on, what are the requirements, and what are some of the things we're going to be doing. Okay. So with that being said, it is 10:20. There are mandated report things that principals will be mailing out to certificated staff. You should have gotten my letter, but it's about 2.5 hours, 3 hours of information with regards to COVID-19 guidelines, with information with regards to sexual harassment guidelines, protocols, and information with regards to, as you are all, everyone on this call is a mandated report of what are your roles and responsibilities for, being aware and making mandated reports for any perceived child abuse allegation with regards to school sites, or with any child that you come into contact with. So all of that is mandated information, and then you will get a certificate. Okay, so I'd like all that all done by the 13th. And you really, again, do the COVID-19 piece. That's really imperative. It will help you at home. It'll help you at school when we start bringing people back. Okay. We're teaching from. So anyway, that's it, guys. Thank you again for your time this morning. I appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate. We will look at your questions, and we will get back to all of you. Have a good day.
Take care, everyone.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Hi,
Miss
everyone.
Toon, if you're still
Have a
on,
nice day, everybody.
still late.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Miss Toon, if you're
I'm
still
here.
okay.
Shannon, if you can hear me, give me a call.
Okay.
Nice day.
Take care, Maria.
Mrs. Gamboa.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello and goodbye.
How are you?
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care. Have a great day.
Great day for everybody.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. So she should be able to get in with whatever password was before and all that. Okay, and then you're gonna call her later so we can try to Zoom and get April's computer working.